the importance of moral reformation, a knowledge of
We
self.
must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship.
For instance, if the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself.
We've got to get smart. We've got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We've got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful creative protest that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, can't be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are, stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best, show them what you about. We gotta love each other, stop killing each other. We gotta unitize, and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self, that's the priority.
Been taught for so many centuries that there nobody is not easy.
So they very skillfully made you and me hate our African identity.
Maybe the English language should be reconstructed so that teachers will not be forced to teach the Negro child 60 ways to despise himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of inferiority.
Our features and our skin and our blood, while we had to end up hating ourselves. It made us feel inferior.
We must no longer be ashamed of being black.
All right. See Jumbo, everybody. Welcome back to Satora's Black History Corner internet program. I am your host, Catherine Hunter Williams. My co-host, Catherine Blake, will not be with us today. She is having some family problems. We have been gone for a month. The first week of January, there was a very bad snowstorm that happened, which prevented us from coming. And then the fourth Monday of January, I had a heart attack and I couldn't come. And all I'm going to say about the heart attack is, but God, he blocked it, and I'm still here. And I'm here to do this program. He has some powerful work for me to do because he didn't let me go. He stepped in and blocked that. The devil tried to make something bad happen in my life, but the Lord took it and turned it around and made it for good. So y'all ready? All right. Happy New Year to you. This is Black History Month. And it was founded by Carter G. Woodson in 1926. All right. To coincide with the marking the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass. A lot of times people will say, why we given the shortest month of the year? Well, it wasn't our choice. It was actually done by Carter Godwin Woodson. His name is Carter Godwin Woodson. Okay, and so it was not our choice. It was not white man's choice. That's what he wants to say. White man gave it to us. No, he did it. He did it. It was just done in 1926, and it was also just for 1 week. And as I said, it was to coincide with the marking the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, which actually no one really knows when Frederick Douglass was born. He was born in slavery, and he really didn't know what year or date that he was born in or the month. But Carter G put it there for him, and I guess maybe somewhere along the line, Carter G found out that he was born in February. So anyway, the week of recognition became accepted, and in 1986 has been extended as a full month of February. Mr. Woodson, and excuse my speech. I'm trying to get better with my speech. So I asked the Lord to speak for me, and maybe my words will come out much better. But sometimes I get to talking a little too fast, and when I get to talking fast, that's when my words get jumble. So just forgive me and bear with me. Okay, Mr. Woodson noted that American Africans' contributions were overlooked, ignored, and even suppressed by the writers of histories, textbooks, and the teachers who used them. Race prejudice, he concluded, is merely the logical result of tradition, the inevitable outcome of thorough instruction to an effect that the Negro has never contributed anything to the progress of mankind. This is a myth. Black History Month is a time for us to celebrate our accomplishments and achievements in America and throughout the diaspora. And I would recommend you doing it all year long, not just because they gave you 1 month. I don't believe that that was the intention of Carter G. Woodson, just to be exclusively to look at our achievements and accomplishments in just that 1 month. I feel you ought to do it all year long. That you sit down with your children maybe once, twice, 3 times, whatever a month, sit down with them and pass our story on to them so they'll know the achievements and the accomplishments of American Africans and be proud of what they have done and to enjoy the freedom, those people that died for the freedom, that fought and died for the freedom that we're enjoying this day. So keep our story alive, pass it on. All right. We'd like to invite you to call in with any questions or comments at 810-208-1854. We not only tell our story about past great and unsung heroes and sheroes, but also about those living in the present day. And George Moss and John Wilson are my heroes in this present day. I love talking with them about our history, and John gives me some history that he knows. And then he knows quite a bit about our history, which kind of surprises me, but he does. And George Moss, Dr. Moss, oh my God, he has what we call a photographic memory. He is my hero, and so is John Wilson. And I got some other heroes that maybe one day I mention, but those are the top 2 right now. Moving forward, today we're going to tell our story about the mystery of the face jug, and with the question of who is this little boy. And I'm only going to give you 2 clues, and if you call in with the right answer, and that number is 810-208-1854, which I think is floating across the screen, we will send you a 1-year subscription to our bi-monthly newsletter, which enhances our program, Satora's Black History Corner. And just leave your name, phone number, address, city, and state with your zip code with John, our producer. And you will receive our next issue, which comes out in March. The number should be, like I said, floating across the bottom of the screen. And I'm going to ask you, who is this little boy? And like I said, I'm going to give you a couple clues. And I pray that you call in because we want to know if you're watching the show or not. All right. Let's keep on moving forward. Also, I want us to talk about, before we get into the face jug, the mystery of the face jug, is there is a new stamp out. And it's a stamp of Shirley Chisholm. If y'all remember, Shirley Chisholm ran for president. Their stamp is beautiful, isn't it? She ran for president of the United States back in, well, let me do a little bit of her history, of her story. I'm sorry. Her name is Shirley Anita St. Hill Chisholm. And she was born on November 30th, 1924 in Brooklyn, New York. And she was an American African politician, educator, and author. She was a congresswoman representing the New York's 12th Congressional District for 7 terms. 7 terms, from 1969 to 1983. In 1968, she became the first American African woman elected to Congress. On January 25th, 1972, she became the first majority party black candidate for president of the United States and the first woman to run for the Democratic presidential nomination. It says here, U.S. Senator Margaret Chase Smith had previously run for the 1964 Republican presidential nomination. She received 152 first ballot votes at the 1972 Democratic National Convention. That stamp that you see, that's the picture of her stamp, and it's out now. It came out at the end of January, so you can go and pick it up. It is called a Black Heritage Stamp. You must ask for them, or if you just go and say, I want some stamps, they just going to give you the regular stamps. These are also forever stamps. That means if the price goes up, they stay the same. Shirley Chisholm. She joined her ancestors on January 1st, 2005. She was 80 years old in Ormond Beach, Florida. Shirley Anita St. Hill Chisholm. All right, go and pick up that stamp. Just go and get it and put it on your stamps and put it out there and show that you support our story by purchasing our stamps. Because at one point in time, they was going to stop doing the Black Heritage stamps because blacks were not buying them. So go and pick them up and keep it going on. Now, let's move forward to the question that I had said earlier. Who is this little boy? Okay, John is not going to show you any pictures right now because I want you to be able to at least call in, and it's not going to show up until I'm through. Nobody calls in, hey, well, we just did, and we'll put the pictures up then. Is that okay, John? Okay. All right, he was a grandson of slaves. A boy was born in a poor neighborhood of New Orleans known as the Black Town. He was born on August 4th, 1901 in Louisiana, New Orleans. His father abandoned the family when the child was an infant. His mother became a prostitute, and the boy and his sister had to live with their grandmother. Early in life, he proved to be musically gifted. With 3 other kids, he sang in the streets of New Orleans, and his first gains were the coins that were thrown at them. A Jewish family, Karnovisky, who had immigrated from Lithuania, pronounce that for me, John.
Lithuania.
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 Okay, I'm going to let John pronounce it. I'm done.
Lithuania.
Okay, to the USA. Had pity for the 7-year-old boy and brought him into their home. Initially given work in the house to feed this hungry child. Then he remained with this Jewish family where for the first time in his life, he was treated with kindness and tenderness. When he went to bed, Miss Karnovsky sang him a Russian lullaby that he would sing with her. Later, he learned to sing and play several Russian and Jewish songs. Over time, this boy became the adopted son of this family. The Karnovskys gave him money to buy his first trumpet. That's first clue. As was the custom in Jewish families, they sincerely admired his musical talent. Later, when he became a professional musician and composer, he used these Jewish melodies in compositions such as the St. James Infirmary and Go Down Moses. Did I pronounce that one right? Infirmary?
Yeah, you got infirmary. Yep.
Okay. This little boy grew up and wrote a book about this Jewish family who had adopted him in 1907. In memory of this family, until the end of his life, he wore a Star of David. And he said that it is in this family that he learned how to live real life with determination. All right, who is this little boy? And I'm gonna give you another clue. They called him Satchmo. And he was called Satchmo because he would scoop up coins and put them in his mouth to avoid bigger children stealing the money from him. And someone dubbed him Satchel Mouth for his mouth acting as a satchel. Okay, that's second clue. Third clue. Sometimes he was called Pop. He was called Pops. He had those nicknames. Or Pops. I'm not going to tell you the other name. Did I tell him the name Satchmo already?
Yes, you did.
Oh, so I done gave him a clue.
Big clue.
I done gave him 2 clues.
I think if anybody's ever read anything about any
trumpet players,
any trumpet players in the United States playing that music,
that's the third clue. Trumpet player. Okay, so I done gave a lot of clues out. So y'all should know who this little boy is. He's renowned for his charismatic stage presence and voice. And he used to do this, oh yeah. That's number 4 clue. So I'm giving y'all a lot of clues. And like I say, I hope that you call in. The number is it floating across the screen, John?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I hope someone call in, even if after the show they call in. But once I give the clue or you see the picture of this young little boy, this is over. All right, so I'm asking you to call in now. Let's see. His influence extends well beyond jazz music, and by the end of his career in the 1960s, he was widely regarded as a profound influence on popular music in general. He was one of the first truly popular American African entertainers to cross over. Crossover means that they went into mainstream, and that means they went from just totally from black people to also including other ethnic groups that he crossed over to. Other people liked his music. He rarely publicly politicized his race, often to the dismay of his fellow American Africans, but took a well-publicized stand for the desegregation during the Little Rock crisis. His artistry and personality allowed him socially acceptable access to the upper echelons of American society that were highly restricted for a black man. All right. Okay, I'm going to give him at least one more clue. He has a museum which is located at 34 through 56 107th Street in Corona, Queens, New York. He preferred the name Louis, that's another clue, which is a French pronunciation of Louis. All right, John, so don't look like we're going to get any calls in. We might get some after the show, but if they call in after the show, it's a little bit too late because we finna put his picture up. Who is this little boy? His name is Louis Armstrong, nickname Satchmo or Pops, was an American African jazz trumpeter and singer from New Orleans, Louisiana. Satchmo. All right. He also was a musician. He was played Dixieland jazz, swing, traditional pop, trumpet, cornet, vocals. He forgets people's name and simply calls them Pops, so they called him Pops. Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, or Pops. Maybe we'll try this again next month and see if we'll start getting some calls in. If we ask for give out some questions and clues, maybe
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, that's Louis Armstrong. Who is this little boy? So be ready for it next month, not our program coming up, because we want to still try to celebrate Black History Month, and we have a lot to talk about within a little half hour that we have. So anyway, that little boy, that picture you're seeing, was called Louis Armstrong, and he had his most famous song was "What a Wonderful World." Okay. Louis Armstrong joined his ancestors, the beloved realm of his ancestors, on July 6, 1971. He was at age 69 in Corona, Queens, New York City. That's Louis Armstrong. And Louis Armstrong's stage personality matched his flashy cornet and trumpet playing. He's also known for his raspy singing voice, and I didn't quite do the impersonation of him very well when I said, and oh yeah, because he had these big teeth, and when he did his mouth, he would shake his head and do it.
He blew his horn too. His cheeks would puff out, and that's like when I
Right.
was taking class, for doing cornet. They always told us not to do that because it causes blood vessels in your face to break up and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but he always he did everything kind of contrary to what you're supposed to do for being a trumpet player. You're not. He violated all the rules. Like jazz does itself musically, but I mean, the way he carried him, the way he played the instrument was vastly different than what they advocated for, especially when I was a student in it. So yeah, I remember when I was a kid, our teacher would say, when you do this, don't puff out your cheeks, don't do a Louis Armstrong on that.
Yeah, because he did. He puffed out his cheeks, when he would blow that horn, that those cheeks would come out.
Right.
But he also had that ring on his lips from blowing that horn.
Yeah, that develops. If you start playing a horn at an early enough age, it slightly pushes your front teeth in.
Oh.
Yeah, because of the pressure and stuff. Yeah. It's like when I was a kid, I learned how to play the trumpet. I could play it pretty well. But it gives you also kind of almost like a beak on your lip.
Yeah.
It toughens it up. Yeah.
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 Because I used to say, well, he didn't have kissable lips for sure. But I used to love it when he would say, oh, yeah, and shake his head and do that big, pretty, he had a big, pretty smile. Very beautiful smile. But that was just a little bit of history about Louis Armstrong, because when I ran across it and it said, who is this little boy? Who is he? That was just very interesting to me, because I didn't know he was raised by a Jewish family. And that was just some nice history. I mean, it might be that it was put in his when you pull it up on the internet. There was some interesting things about him, but I didn't think I seen that part about him, about this family, that the Karnovsky. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, I can't see. It's like is it SKY ending or SKI?
SKY.
Yeah, see, that's usually Czech or Ukrainian or something like that. And
Or
SKI.
Lithuanian.
Yeah, and Lithuanian. Yeah, the Lithuanians also use SKY. Polish people have a tendency to use SKI in there. So you have Belinsky, Kalinsky, whatever, SKI.
Okay,
That's
he
how
was
you can tell.
Jewish. They were Jewish.
Well, Jewish people would just adopt names of the people in that country to try to fit in. So the SKY would probably be adopted to it, but yeah, there's not real distinguishable Jewish names per se. They use names of the people around them, in the countries they were in.
Oh, okay.
First names usually would be kind of a tip-off, like Solomon or Saul or something like that might be an indication somebody's Jewish. But the last name was typically
Sounded Polish, didn't it?
In some countries, they actually were.
Maybe it was Polish Jewish Poles.
Well, I was like,
Polish.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been. Well, the SKY though makes it usually Ukrainians could do that, have that kind of a name, or nothing's a hard fast rule, obviously, but it's a tendency for people who are Czechs or Croatians or Lithuanians or to have the SKY ending on their name, or the Polish people have the SKI. So
okay. Now, the song "What a Wonderful World" is a song written by Bob Thiele as George Douglas and George David Weiss. It was first recorded by Louis Armstrong and released as a single in 1967. Thiele and Weiss were both prominent in the music world. Thiele as a producer and Weiss as a composer-performer. Armstrong's recording was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. The publishing for this song is controlled by Memory Lane Music Group, Carlin Music Group, and Bug Music Incorporation. All right, that is Louis Armstrong. Who is this little boy? Louis Armstrong. See that beautiful smile he got on there? He has such a beautiful smile. And when he would say that, oh yeah, his head would shake like. He was a great entertainer, and I have lived long enough that I got to see him also perform, and that was just great. He also wrote Mia Va de Cantor, 1967. He wrote What a Wonderful World, and I think he wrote that for the Jewish family too. Somewhere I've seen that he had wrote that in memory of them. And Hello Brother in 1968. So that is Louis Armstrong Satchmo. He is the little boy that grew up in Louisiana, New Orleans. Okay. Now, let's move a little further. We got about 5 minutes, John. 5 minutes. Okay, let's get to the mystery of the face jugs, which was just a surprise that came to me back in January. I think it was January or maybe December, because it was given to Miss Tracy Atkinson, who is the owner of Page's Bookstore, located downtown Flint on 132 West 2nd Street. This was a birthday gift that was sent to her by Jack Lesage. I don't know if y'all remember him. He used to have an advertising agency in the city of Flint, and now he lives, I think, Texas, somewhere down in there. He done left Flint. But him and Tracy stay in contact with each other. They're very good friends. Anyway, he sent her one of these, and as you can see, it's kind of gross. And so I'm going to tell y'all the story, or our story, of the mystery of face jugs. The traditional pottery with faces date back to Egyptian and Mesopotamia times and appears in many other cultures throughout history. There are conflicting accounts, multiple stories, and varying theories about the first face jugs in the United States. One account lists an unknown potter in Massachusetts as the creator of the first face jug in the United States. Another account traces the first face jugs in the United States to African slaves who worked on American plantations. One theory suggests that these early face jugs were used as grave markers by slaves because the master would not let them put names or headstones or markers on their family, on their peoples, my mother, father. They would just throw them in the grave. There was nothing there to mark their graves. These jugs were supposed to ward off evil spirits, and if you look at them, they look like they could ward off a few things. A South Carolina potter who traces his ancestors to slavery states that the idea was that the face jug would be ugly enough to scare the devil away from your grave so your soul could go to heaven. You see them? I mean, I think I got about 3 of them that I have put up on the screen. But they are some gruesome looking ones. And one of them up there, I think, is Tracy's. I can't really see if that's the one, but it's the brown one. There he is. I think that's the one Tracy got. No, hers has a cigar in the mouth, and he is gross. And I think she heard him talking to her Saturday. I put an exhibit up down there, John. So
she heard that jug talking to her?
Oh, yeah, they talk to you. Be surprised if you really listen of artworks or African art pieces and different things, because it's spiritual. Like it said, that the idea that the face jug would be ugly enough to scare the devil away from your grave so you could go, your soul could go to heaven. That's something that the artist that he put, whoever did that, the potter, put their soul in it, their spirit in that piece.
Well, like the Japanese do with their blades, or katana blades.
Right.
Yeah.
And Africans, we know they do it in their pieces, their African pieces, because, well, I'm going to just tell you the truth about it. I do hear him speak to me. But she tickled me. She finally heard it, because he had told me to turn him to face the window. To door, and she said, I started laughing. I said, "Oh, you want to face the door?" And this jug said yes, but Tracy heard it too and started laughing. It was just a funny thing. Anyway, back to face jug mysteries. Hey, spirit is spirit. You can hear plants talk. I hear plants. Do you hear plants, John?
Can't say that I have, but I mean, I'm not gonna mock it, because I've had an interesting experience with a religious, I had like a manifestation of something one time with a sculpture. So I'm not going to knock it. But I didn't say it talked to me, but I mean, it was a.
Oh, you could hear it. It's like it's speaking. It's a mental thing.
But it's like it was kind of cool that the it was a statue of Saint Michael, and it was like a presence around it. It was kind of. I mean, there's no actuality.
It's spiritual.
Yeah, but it was
Just
kind
put
of
it as
intriguing.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to knock it. I mean, I think there's energies attached to stuff. I mean, I don't want to sound new ages, but I think there could be energies attached to things.
Plants is a live, living being, and they do talk to you. I've had them. I have walked in people's houses and hear something and say, "Would you give me some water?" And you know, I kept hearing it, and so I would ask them, "Do y'all got a plant or something in here?" And they would say yes, but it's dying. And so I would say, well, all it needs is water.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, plants talk.
Oh, see, they've done scientific research actually that, you know, they commit like, oh, tear up another plant in front of it, the presence of another plant, and that plant, there's like some kind of vibrations are picked up. You know, there some kind of activity is being picked up. So there's an emotional response to seeing other plants are harmed.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's kind of. I mean, that was 70s. I don't know if they dismissed that study. That was one I read years ago when I was a kid. You know, a teenager. So I mean, yeah, it's a possibility. I'm not going to mock it totally because I mean,
it's all spiritual, and it's all about how sensitive you are. But I was shocked that Tracy heard her mug say that he was satisfied after I had turned him toward the window, toward the door. Oh Lord. Anyway, we just hope it keep evil away from the store. Anyway, back to these mugs, the mystery of the face jugs. Though there are many gaps in historical data regarding the making, use, and meaning of the face jug pottery, there is no doubt that the vessels were original, functional, artistic expressions of the African slave culture of the time. This all adds to the mystery of the possible deeper meaning of the face jugs in slave culture. Few of the skilled potters who made face jugs have been identified by name, and their inspiration for making face vessels is really unknown. Researchers speculate that the vessels may have had religious or burial significance, or that they reflect the complex responses of people attempting to live and maintain their personal identities under cruel and often difficult conditions. Face jugs have been found along the routes of the Underground Railroad and on grave sites, and I'm sure that if it was on the Underground Railroad, it was because they definitely need to keep evil away while these people were escaping slavery on the Underground Railroad. Both indicated how highly they were valued and how closely connected they were with the enslaved American Africans' own culture. Now, the one that Tracy has, and I guess I don't have it up there, it has a cigar in his mouth. And also jug shards have been found on grave sites and, like I said, along Underground Railroads. And this is another part. This is another story I'm reading. This might imply that the face jugs were very important to the escaping slaves. Speculation is that slaves who were not allowed to have tombstones or headstones, so they developed face jugs as grave markers. They also would put personal items of the person, like jewelry, or maybe they had a famous a drink that they liked, or piece of clothing to mark the graves, because it's such a sad thing that your child, your mother, your father, or someone has died that's very close to you, and all you could do is bury them and not put a headstone or a marker over there to let you know where they are. But that's the way they did the slaves back in those days. So this face jug, the mystery of it was, which I seen that, I just had to find the history on it, and it was just very interesting. And I wanted to share the story with you. Okay, they developed face jugs as grave markers designed to scare and keep the devil away. In the 1800s, many people were becoming ill and dying from the lead glazes used to seal the low fiery pottery that was being used by the settlers in the southern United States in response to Dr. Abner Landrum founded Pottersville, a group of about 16 or 17 houses with families in the area within 1.5 miles from the Edgefield Courthouse in South Carolina. And most of these face jugs come from the North Carolina and the Southern and South Carolina. This is known, Edgefield is known now today as Aiken County. It grew into a village of about 150 people, mostly slaves. David Drake is the most notable, and they produced lead-free pottery and face jugs until the beginning of the Civil War. This pottery now is known as Edgefield pottery. It's the only form of pottery that was made entirely by American tradition. Now, the one, do I have one up there, John, with the cigar in his mouth? Because that's one of the newest ones that was made.
I don't see any there, and we got all three of them, I think, off of your drive. So
maybe I didn't get it up there. But anyway, it's this newest guy who has came about, and his name, he's some many years ago while attending a gathering after a family funeral, he found himself intrigued by a conversation between his father and some elder family members. They were talking about something called face jugs and how they related to their family history. This is the American African face jug oral history as it was passed down in his family, the McDowell Poston family. His father, James T. McDowell Sr., told me the story as he received it from his father. See how they keep passing the story on, passing it on? Anyway, this young man, what he did, like I said, slaves were not allowed to have tombstones, and I've already gave you the history. But his name is Jim McDowell. And Jim McDowell plays the role of the literate slave potter known as Dave, who lives in Edgefield, South Carolina in the 1800s. So if you're ever down there, there's a film about, it's called Filling in the Gap. But what he did, he updated it by putting a cigar in the mouth of one of the face jug that he made. That's how you know it's his. And he did that.
Because that sounds like a voodoo thing. Because during voodoo practice, some rituals, they smoke a cigar and they blow the smoke into around to satisfy the deity or something like that. I don't know, spirits.
Well,
whatever.
it's his. African slaves were taken to the Caribbean to be accumulated, and there they picked up the religion of voodoo. Okay, but this guy here is that. See, he does like the ones the face jugs that you're seeing here. Those are old ones. He makes some new ones, and he puts, okay, let me finish the story. Eventually, ancestor worship, voodoo, and Christianity, oh Lord, my words, amalgamated into the tradition of the face jug. Many slaves who came to this country converted to Christianity and acquired a belief in the devil. Ain't that interesting? They combined all their beliefs and came up with the ugly face jug. Apparently, it had to be ugly enough to scare the devil away from your grave so your soul could go to heaven, as I had told you earlier. When he was still living, my father gave me a face jug that he had acquired on a trip to Jamaica many decades ago, and it's cruelly made with rough features, and Jim McDowell, treasures it. Let me see. I want to get down here where he puts the, here it is. This topic has no written history, but the oral tradition in my family, along with other information I've gleaned, is my inspiration for the face jug I create. I put a cigar in the mouths. Now, John, listen to this. He put the cigar in the mouths of some face jugs because slaves were not allowed to smoke. So the cigar signifies defiance. The man who does not consider himself a boy, and of course delivers symbolically a strong effort to the slaveholder. And I remember all these things when making a face jug. And I added stained glass to some of the jugs so that when they are fired, it steams like tears. That would be interesting to see. The face jug that Tracy has down at the store has the cigar in his mouth, and that's from this guy, Jim McDowell. Okay, so he didn't do it as a voodoo thing, but actually it might have been because he's putting all this stuff together. And he's combining voodoo with Christianity.
So it makes sense that the slaves weren't allowed to smoke because it was tobacco was a cash crop that they probably were harvesting in many plantations. So, they probably wouldn't want the slaves to smoke up the profits. That tobacco exported all over the world. So made a lot of money for those people.
Yeah. All right, that is our story about face jugs. And as I said, in Filling the Gap, a film about the little-known accomplishments of those enslaved, Jim McDowell plays the role of the literate slave potter known as Dave, who lived in Edgefield, South Carolina in the 1800s. All right, that's the story. That's our story about face jugs, and I thought it was just very interesting of how they would take different things and how slaves would come up with a way or devise a way to be able to put a headstone or a marker, if you will, to let you know that this is my family member. And there's no two of them alike. Every one of them are very different. Okay, so that was the ugly jug. They called it the ugly jug, and some of them was turned into what they call that liquor they make, John, when they make it on a still.
Yeah.
What kind of liquor is that called?
That could be
White Lightning.
White Lightning. It could be all kinds of stuff because they make everything with a still. I mean, even cognac is made out of wine poured into a still.
Well, they used to use these face jugs.
Yeah, probably for some corn
to
whiskey.
scare kids away.
You know, they think they're a lot like a gargoyle. The gargoyles are placed on the eaves of buildings.
Yep, to keep evil away.
Too.
And yet they look some of them look absolutely scary. Well. All right, we've come to the end of our program, and I think we went over. Satora's Black History Corner Internet program comes to you via satellite at www.ustream.tv.channel Flint Talk Radio. You can watch our program every second and fourth Monday of the month starting at 3:30 p.m. Also, be sure to watch what's going on with political pundit Dr. George Moss every Monday at 2 p.m. We hope you have enjoyed the song you heard at the beginning of our program, Be Proud to Be Black, featuring Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. And if you would like more information about the CD single, you can contact TP at 810-962-3258. That's 810-962-3258. Be proud to be black. As always, I like to say, Asante, which means in Swahili, thanks to all of you who have watched our program today. And it feels good to be back because I've been out of it for about a month, and I really went through some dangerous stuff with the heart attack, but I'm still here. God blocked it. If you like what you have seen and heard, please pass it on to others. And I'd like to leave you with a quote from Carter G. Woodson. As I always tell people, young people especially, to think for yourself. Because I don't think, some people like for others to think for them and tell them what to do, whatever. But this is a quote, and this is for Black History Month. And this is a quote by Carter Godwin Woodson from the book, The Miseducation of the Negro. If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his actions. When you determine what a man will think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior, you do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself. If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast, you do not have to order him to the back door. He will go without being told, and if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one. I hope y'all find somewhere to go and celebrate Black History Month. On February 28th, the Kemet Study Group, Kemet is also known as Ancient Egypt, will be hosting their 9th annual celebration at Page's Bookstore. That's at 132 West 2nd Street, starting from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. From 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. Our guest speaker will be Minister Stacy Swimp. I hope I pronounced it right.
Swimp, yeah, Swimp. Yeah.
Swimp.
That's SWIMP.
Yep.
Swimp, yep.
We will have two griots, which are storytellers in Swahili, Miss Kathy Johnson and Miss Jerry Gaines. And we will have musical entertainment by Eddie McCants. And we're going to have also soul food and Mid-Eastern food. It will be served, and it's all free. And we hope y'all come out. And that's February 28th. That's the last day of this month, and that's our celebration. Also, and Still We Rise, an exhibit by Satora's Black History Corner is also being held at Page's Bookstore. The opening for that will be Friday. I'm not sure of that date, but it'll be Friday from 6 to 9 p.m. at Page's Bookstore. That's located downtown Flint on 132 West 2nd Street, between Saginaw, South Saginaw and Beach Street, right on the corner of Buckham Alley. Hope to see you there. Until next time, keep on keeping on with us, along with the sounds of Be Proud to Be Black, with, of course, loving the skin you're in, and, of course, celebrate Black History Month. May our Heavenly Father bless you, keep you safe, and in His perfect Hotep peace, which means peace. And John, I didn't have a heart attack. Praise the Lord. Mwah.
The importance of moral reformation, a knowledge of
We
self.
must work passionately and unrelentingly for first-class citizenship.
For instance, the average so-called Negro, he doesn't think that he can go into business and provide jobs for himself.
We've got to get smart. We've got to organize.
And because of this, he thinks that he can only get a job from the white man, or he can only get clothes from the white man, or he can only get food from the white man.
We've got to organize so effectively and so well and engage in such powerful creative protest that there will not be a power in the world that can stop us.
We gotta be proud to be black. Don't worry about what they say. We gotta think smarter and live smarter. We gotta want more and work harder, cause they ain't giving it to us. Put your all in. If you truly wanna make it, can't be waiting for handouts, baby, you gotta take it. Like Martin gotta have a dream, cause he had one. Like Malcolm, by any means, gotta get that done. Don't be ashamed of who you are, stick your chest out proud. Make them believe that you're the best, show them what you about. We gotta love each other, stop killing each other. We gotta unitize and don't believe the lies. This is a message to the blacks and any other minority. Live well and love self, that's the priority.
Been taught for so many centuries that they are nobody is not easy.
So they very skillfully made you and me hate our African identity.
Maybe the English language should be reconstructed so that teachers will not be forced to teach the Negro child 60 ways to despise himself and thereby perpetuate his false sense of inferiority.
Our features and our skin and our blood, while we had to end up hating ourselves. It made us feel inferior.
We must no longer be ashamed of being black.